Hello, guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message it reads like this. Dear brother Nash, can you please post my own story? This is my story of how I ended up being a white garment prophet. I used to be a pastor in the Pentecostal church, but because of bitterness, I later left that church, and now I am a white garment prophet. This is my own story that I want to confess to you before God and before your listeners. My confession, it goes on like this. We grew up attending this other Pentecostal church there in Zim. It is quite very popular. But my brother, because of my gift, I was really gifted. The elders at our church, they were so jealous, including the pastors, because whenever I would try to give a prophecy, when that person would try to give me a gift, then they will say that you are not supposed to make people from our church to pay because the gift was given to you for free by God. But what was hurting me was that these same pastors, some people from our church, were actually gifting them with cars. So I wanted the same thing to be done to me. I had so much bitterness, my brother. I even went to a Bible school, and whilst I was at that Bible school, the bitterness that was there in my heart, it kept on growing and growing until I said it is time for me to find or to start my own church. I even have the documents of the church that I once registered. So when I was still growing up, I saw that I had a gift. Like when I would look at someone directly into the eyes, I would then sense everything that would happen in their life, everything, including the day that they are going to die. I then told my own sister about this gift of mine. So there was this other time when my sister was working for this other elder. Whilst my sister was working for that elder, then my sister told that elder from church that I was gifted. She called me to her place and she said that I should give her a prophecy. Whilst I was looking at her, that was when I saw that she was going to have an accident and she was going to suffer from a broken leg from that accident. And it happened. There was this other time when my sister ran back home. When she ran back home, my sister then said that, brother, I have now seen that you have a calling. You are supposed to start your own church because you have your own calling. My brother, what had happened was that, like I had seen in that vision, that is exactly what happened. That elder had an accident and she had a broken heart. From there on, my mom, what she will do is that she would tell me that when you are giving people prophecies, like at that time at church, when we would be praying for people, so a lot of people, they would come to me because they knew that I was really gifted. Then I would whisper to them and I would say that God has told me that you are supposed to come to our house. Then they would come. When they would have come after helping them, yes, I used to pray for people and they would be cured. Brother Nashi, my mom will say that I want you to tell this person that God has told you that the person is supposed to give you a gift. There was this other woman whom I even told that she was supposed to buy some dinner plates because my mom at that time, she wanted some dinner plates, and that is what I did. Brother Nashi, I started making a lot of money. That was when my mom was told by the church that everything that we were doing, it was actually wrong. We were not supposed to do that thing that we were doing. My mom got so angry and she manipulated me. And she said that it is far much better, my son, with this great gift that you have, to start your own church. She helped me to start my own church. I then started renting at this other house where we had our first assembly. But Brother Nashi, I don't know what was happening. People were not coming to that church. Yes, I was healing people. I was praying for people so that they can be healed. But something kept on happening over and over again. Some people would come, then the next Sunday after receiving their miracle, they will stop coming to church. We were not making money at all. My brother, my mom then said that it is far much better that we go and visit a traditional healer. I said to my mom, but it is not okay because I am a man of God. How can I go and visit a traditional healer? Then my mom said that most of these witch doctors, they are working for the devil anyway. So you, my son, you are like a warrior. We need to go and attack the devil in his own playground. You need to go behind enemy lines. You are supposed to be given some charms so that you can use those charms to bring people to God so that they can know God. The charms that we were now looking for, they are those charms that are called mudano, which means that you are able to call people, and these were the charms that were given to me, Brother Nashi. Me and my mom, we then went and we visited this other traditional healer. When we visited that traditional healer, that was when I was given those charms to call people. But those charms, they were not working at all. No matter what I would try to do, the charms will not work. Then I returned back to that traditional healer and I said, these charms, they are not working. What am I supposed to do? That traditional healer then said that I have a friend of mine. This friend of his, he told me that he was working with some Indians. Like, I don't know the story, but the rings, they are straight from India and they are made there. So these rings, most of the rich people, they wear those rings. So I was going to be given this ring. After being given that ring, whenever I will be praying for people, when I say fire, when I say Holy Ghost fire, then the people in church, they will start falling. I was given that ring, Brother Nashi, and when I would go to church on Sunday, what I had to do was that I had to raise up my left hand, then point that ring towards the people that will be seated at church. Then I'll start saying fire, fire. Then everyone at church will just fall down, including the people that were in the praise and worship playing the drums, and the people in my church, they would fall. But still, Brother Nashi, with all of these miracles that were happening, the church was not getting big. We were not making any money at all. That was when I returned back to that traditional healer and I said, I do not know what to do anymore. I have done all the things that you told me to do. Please help me. What am I supposed to do? Brother Nashi, then that traditional healer said, I can see that your blood is not supposed. He then said that I can see that you are trying to become a pastor, but you are not supposed to be a pastor. It is not in your DNA. You need to try something new now that you have seen that you cannot become a pastor because the church is not growing at all. So I said to the pastor, so I said to that healer, what am I supposed to do? Because I am really confused. I have tried everything. Then that traditional healer told me that if I wanted to become a white garment prophet, then he was willing to assist me. I then returned back home, and when I returned back home, I kept on thinking about it. Life became so tough, at that place where they had given me space to rent so that I can start my small church. They were patient with me until one day they told me that it was time for them to let me go. The church was not growing and I was unable to pay the rent in time. I always had one excuse after the other. That is how me and my mother were kicked out. We didn't have any way to stay. We then returned back to the village, but we returned back to the village where my mom was born. She spoke with her relatives and she said, look at me, look at my situation. Please give me a place so that I can build a home for me and my kids because we do not have any way to stay. My mother's elder brothers then gave her a small piece of land where we ended up building some small structures. That is where we started staying. Whilst we were staying there, village life is not nice. Everyone in the village is just poor. That was when I said, let me return back to that traditional healer who once assisted me. I went back to that traditional healer and I spoke with him. I said, please help me. I have decided to become a white garment prophet. He then said, once we have found a place, I am going to come to you so that I can assist you so that your church can become big. I returned back to the village and I went into the bushes. I then picked a place where I wanted my church to be. Then that traditional healer told me that he was going to come. He came, Brother Nash. He drove all the way from Harare and he came to our village. When he came to our village, Brother Nash, it was in the middle of the night. He told me that I had to show him the place where the church was supposed to be. I then went with him into the bushes and I showed him. He then said that for 3 days after he had taken out this other human skull that he had. I don't know if it is a human skull or a monkey skull, but it is too big for it to be a monkey skull. He gave it to me and he said, this monkey skull, I want you to bury it in the middle of the ground where you want your church to be. And after burying it for after 3 days, I want you to come and remove it. You have to go and find a forest, at least a forest where the ancestors are staying, a forbidden forest or a cave in the mountains, deep in the mountains, whereby not a lot of people would be going to those mountains, those forbidden mountains, the ones whereby if you climb up that mountain, you might never be seen again because the ancestors are staying there. That is the place where you wanted me to go and hide that skull that he had given me after burying it for 3 days. Brother Nashi, when that traditional healer was gone, what I was doing was that whenever my mom would be cooking, when the fire would have died down, I would then take the ashes and I would place them somewhere else, because this traditional healer had told me that on the day when I was supposed to go and dig up that skull, I had to go to the place where I had placed those ashes, and like a donkey, he said, just like a donkey, because a donkey, it will go to a place where you throw away all the ashes, then it will roll over and over again. This is what I was supposed to do. I stripped myself naked when it was late at night, almost in the middle of the night. Then I went to the place where I had placed the ashes, and like a donkey, I started rolling over and over, and I got up on my feet. I then started walking into the bushes. When I arrived at the bushes, I started digging up that human skull, Brother Nash, and I took it. When I was leaving the bushes, I looked at the place where I am now worshipping at, where I have my church. I then saw that there were 3 men that were standing there. Those men, they had clothes that were really bright. Brother Nashi, I then took that skull and I climbed the mountain and I buried Brother Nashi, that skull, deep into the mountains in this dark cave. In that dark cave, that is where I buried that human skull. I then returned back home. Right now, I do assist people, Brother Nash, at my church, but I am using this human skull. Dear listeners, right there was the first narration from the first voice note that our dear brother sent to me. Then he said that this is not all, Brother Nash. There are some rules to these rituals, and I have to follow these rules so that I can keep on getting more customers. I said, what are the rules? And he said, I cannot tell you, Brother Nash, but the clue that I can give you is that what I do with my mother, in our African culture, it is a taboo. It is forbidden for a son and his mother to engage in such an act, because it is a taboo in our culture. So I think that our brother, since he says that he cannot get married, I think that maybe he is sleeping with his own mother. He is married to his own mother so that he can make money as a prophet. Yo,